How many of you have ever felt like you were meant for something bigger, but you feel maybe life or something is just keeping you from going after it? Is that anyone out there? That was definitely me. I'm like, I know there's got to be more to this, more to life than this hospital job. I'm a certified peri-anesthesia nurse and a certified bariatric nurse. So my background started in med-surg and oncology. I also have done ER and moved into peri-op, where I did a lot of PACU and pre-op. And then most recently, I moved into bariatric surgery office. So that's the gist of my background. I started back in 2019. I was getting tired of the whole rigmarole of hospital work. So in the fall of 2019, decided to pursue legal nurse consulting. I found a program online, and I took a 40-hour course and became certified. Attorneys don't care if you're certified. They don't even really know what that means. They really just want to know that you have experience and that you know what you're talking about as a nurse. At that time, I thought that's what you were supposed to do. I thought you had to get certified. Come to find out, years down the road, you don't actually need to be certified to pursue legal nurse consulting. Was really struggling to get my business up and running. While the course taught me a lot about legal nurse consulting, it didn't really teach me about marketing so much. So I really wasn't sure how to get clients and cases. And that was the struggle for me. I needed someone to help me get going for my business. The National Legal Nurse Consulting Network, the NLNCN, the platform for networking for LNCs. Just 5 weeks in, I got my first client and I was stoked. I could not believe I got my first client that quickly. I was being retained as an expert on a case where a woman had back surgery. There was just some questions about whether her anticoagulants were stopped on time and who's responsible for that. All of this was right up my alley. So I got the records right away, dug in, and was like, oh yeah, I can definitely speak to this. So it was really a great first experience. That was really exciting, nerve-wracking, I'm not gonna lie, but it was really exciting. At that point, I was working in the bariatric surgery office at my hospital, and that job was 8 to 4:30 sort of thing. It was all during business hours, and that was really difficult because everything I needed to do for my business, most of it I needed to do during business hours. If I wanted to call an attorney or if I wanted to drop by a firm and drop off some information, that stuff needs to be done during business hours. And I wasn't available to do that. My boss during that time, she was pregnant and she was going out on maternity leave. So like every good nurse, I said, oh, I'll stick around all summer. I'll cover the office. I'll be there. I'll support everything. I didn't want to let the office down and I didn't want to let my boss down. And isn't that what we do in nursing? I'll sacrifice myself for the sake of the hospital. And so that's what I did. But what I realized is while I was being faithful to them, that job, I was really doing myself a disservice and I was doing my business a disservice. So when she returned at the end of August, I turned in my resignation. I didn't have any other cases lined up at that point. It's a scary decision, I'll admit. I prayed about it all summer, but really felt like this is what I need to do. My all in is me quitting my job. And so when I turned in my resignation, I talked to my boss about why I was doing this and also said I'd love to do phasing out. If I can just cut back my hours every week until I'm finally finished. She was in agreement with that. So that's what I did. This week is actually the first week I'm only working 2 days in the office. And this is giving me time to do things for my business, like continuing to follow up with those attorneys. Sometimes those scariest decisions in our lives are also the most necessary ones. I want to pivot here into talking about some barriers that we all kind of face. Just want to throw these out there and maybe talk about some ways to overcome some of it. So the first one is fear and our mindset. Obviously, the fear for me of leaving a secure paycheck was a big deal. I don't know when my next case is going to come in, but I have faith that it's all going to work out. There's imposter syndrome. Am I really good enough to do this? Am I smart enough? Will attorneys really want to work with me? And there's that fear of failure. What if I can't get a client? What if they really don't want to work with me? Those are all real, and we all experience those at different degrees. So fear is not going to go away. Courage is not really the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward despite that fear. I'm moving forward despite the fact that I'm a little freaked out over some of this. But you have to shift that mindset and know that you're building something for yourself. And you don't have to have it all figured out. You need to take imperfect action. I'm someone I need to have everything set up. It needs to look just perfect. The post needs to say everything perfectly. It needs to look pretty. No, don't do that. Just post anyways. Call anyways. Whatever it is, take that action. It doesn't have to be perfect, because if you're waiting for it to be perfect, it's probably never going to happen. Another barrier is time and energy. I was trying to balance a full-time job and trying to figure out building a business. There was just not a lot of space for marketing and networking. As I said earlier, I didn't have time to just go to an attorney's firm and talk to them or even get on a phone call with them. So I felt like I was trying to build everything with leftover time or scraps of time. So LinkedIn is a way that we network and we market ourselves. There was no way I was going to sit down every day or every other day and just create posts. That just wasn't going to work for me. So I decided on the weekends I was going to sit down, and for an hour or 2 hours, I would just start writing posts and I would pre-schedule them out. And that was really helpful for me. And then I could still get on in the middle of the day, sometimes at work, and I would read attorney posts and I would engage with them and comment on their posts. That was just something I could do maybe on my lunch break or in the evening while I'm watching TV. Get on LinkedIn, start posting. You find those little actions to keep moving that needle forward. Something else I'm doing right now is building systems. Once I have cases coming in, I need to have systems already in place so that I'm ready to send out a contract or to manage the clients that I have. A CRM. It's called the LNC Blueprint. And I am currently building that out right now. Sometimes you can just cut back your hours at work. If you're someone who's working 36 or 40 hours a week, maybe you can cut back to 30 or 32. Maybe you can cut back to 24 hours. And that will give you a little bit more margin as you're starting to build your business. The third and final barrier I wanted to chat about is marketing and visibility. I touched on this already. LinkedIn is one of the ways that we market a lot. I talked about pre-scheduling those posts. It's good to get a couple of posts out every week. Attorneys can't hire you if they don't know that you exist. You can also send information out via snail mail. You can pop into an attorney's office and talk to them, maybe take them a treat. There's several different things you can do. Just figure out what works for you, what works for your personality. But going all in doesn't necessarily mean quitting your job. You don't have to quit tomorrow. If you need to cut back those hours or do what you have to do, use your weekends, use that time in the evening or in the morning, depending on your work schedule. But going all in means fully committing to the process. So even when it's messy, even when it's scary, just committing yourself to doing it. I would like to leave you with a couple of some action steps that you could take even this week. If you're not an LNC yet, or you haven't really started pursuing anything, I would encourage you, get on LinkedIn, start getting your name out there, build a network, start connecting with attorneys. You can connect with medical malpractice attorneys or personal injury attorneys, those who are doing workers' compensation, anywhere where they're going to have medical records involved. And just start posting. Tell them why you're exploring LNC work. Maybe teach them something that you've learned as a nurse. The other thing is joining the NLNCN. For me, this has been a great network of other legal nurse consultants who are doing all the things. We're all in different stages. Some have a huge business already. Others are just getting started, but everyone's always there to encourage you. Any question you have, you throw it in the chat and someone's going to be willing to answer. The NLNCN is a community of support and a system of how to create a successful business. There's just a lot of people in that network who have been doing this for several years, and the wealth of information that they have is amazing. I know someone in there is always going to have the answer to my question. And if they don't know, someone's going to find out. Taking that leap into it is the biggest challenge, understanding how and when, 100%. And as I said, there's never a perfect time. Any nurse out there, if you've got a few years under your belt, you've got all it takes. Once you've got that nursing process in you and you've learned some critical thinking skills, you know how the hospital works. And that's what attorneys need. They can't interpret the records. And that's where you come in. You can interpret the medical records for them. Take those leaps of faith. It's scary, but again, that fear is never going to go away. So don't wait for your ducks to line up. They're not going to do that for you. Just start to take action. Imperfect action. And I would encourage you, definitely get involved in the NLNCN, ask questions, I hope this provided some value. I'm hoping I encouraged some of you to start this journey. It really is exciting. I couldn't be more excited about it.